with the proverbial slogan like Khurja Sim Sim, you need to address some of the concerns of the prospective investors. First thing, your profit growth has stagnated. It was reduced by, your net profit reduced by 3.3%, and it has put some pressure on operating margins. Secondly, your valuation seems to be quite expensive because the upper price band value is roughly 52 times of your diluted EPS. So how do you address this thing? And on the opportunity side, let me ask you that how difficult it is for US and Europe to create the facilities that you have been able to establish in MB. And since your new business forays, how do you find the better opportunities there? So, thank you. I am Mehul Dani from FinTech Business.
So let me take your first question, marginal reduction in the PAT numbers in a particular year, if I'm not mistaken. Now please understand that I did mention several times that in the last 4 to 5 years we have made a significant capex in our two subsidiaries, one the injectable part and two the formulation part. And given the nature of the accounting standards that we follow, it is not always possible for us to capitalize or amortize all the expenses in the respective subsidiaries. We have to take some load on the base API business P&L. And as a result, you might see some pressure, but that pressure is not the API business pressure itself. This pressure is actually flowing from the two new subsidiaries that we invested in last several years. But it's very marginal. But I think this is not behind us because as both subsidiaries now have gone ahead, and at least one of the subsidiaries, which is the formulation subsidiary, is getting into sales and revenues this year itself. So we don't have to bother about their expense. We can fully expense out their own P&L. Having said that, on the injectable side, we are still 1.5 years away, maybe 15 to 18 months away before we are in sales and revenues, right? So that pressure, although expense, will also dilute once injectable subsidies also. But for time being, it had little impact on our P&L. We must accept it. But also appreciate the fact that in last 3 to 4 years, if you see, our gross margin numbers have consistently gone up. I think we have crossed from 50% to now moving towards 65% gross margin. 2, we also have risen from 24% of EBITDA to closing to now 30% of our EBITDA margin. Now, why is this also happening in the same breath? Where you see a small impact on the PAT, which I explained it to you, is not from the API business, it is from other two subsidiaries. But our base API business is improving in its margin profile. It is on account of few things we must know. One, of course, we are changing our geographical mix more in favor of the advanced and regulated markets. Because by virtue of this make versus buy, we continue to win new customers, even the old customers with a newer share of their requirement. And also we are producing those products or putting more focus on those products which are higher margin than the other products. And we are defocusing the lesser regulated, unregulated markets and more focus. So this product geography mix is ever changing and improving in our favor. And this is very clear from the last 3 to 4 financial years that you've seen. And I continue to believe that this mix improvement will continue to further take our margins on the higher level. That's on the margin part. I think I just want to valuation now.
I think the banker will be.
Yeah, I think it's better for the bankers to take this question.
Sure. There are a couple of buckets of logic here. The first bucket, and if you go to the document, we've outlined an entire chapter called basis for price. It reviews some of the qualitative and quantitative aspects that we've looked at while pricing decision. Point number 1. Point number 2, in addition, of course, this is on the back of investor feedback that has been collected over an extensive institutional investor roadshow. And when you do see the anchor book, you will see the quality of institutional investors who are backing this story at this particular price. Does it answer your question on valuation on the basis?
Good afternoon. Yeah, myself Babita from Times Global News. My question is, how vulnerable is your high revenue concentration in corticosteroid and steroidal hormone APIs to global price volatility and raw material shifts?
So, Babita, as you would have noticed that we have this backward integrated capability and we have the enough capacity. So today, of course, there's make versus buy. So we do make some products right from soybean derived steroid all the way to this theoretically active APIs, right? And some we still buy from China or America, let's put it this way. But this is only a technical call that we take from time to time. But should there be any price pressure coming from our suppliers, our strategic suppliers from overseas, we can always go back to our own manufacturing. If there's any regulatory pressure, compliance pressure on our suppliers or key intermediates, we can go back to it. So the kind of sweet spot position that we've created is helping our costs. So we can change this technical position from time to time in our favor, looking at the geopolitical situation, look at price situation, look at the compliance situation of our suppliers. So even if you see this West Asia crisis, it has not impacted us. Why? Because we won our very high value API producers, where the contribution of our so-called solvent or petroleum based product prices and the logistic prices is very minimal. So yes, in 3 to 6 months, short-term impact has been 1 or 2 points reduction in our gross margins possibly, but because we have the ability, because we're qualified with some of these innovation and big pharma and large generic companies, and as I told you a while ago that we have not played generally the price card with these customers. It is more the regulatory card, more the supply chain security card, and these cards are more potent than the price cards. And typically we have negotiation once in a year with them, so we might have to absorb this 3 to 6 months losses, which is 1 or 2% because of the logistic and let's say solvent price increase. But largely we are in control of our own destiny because we are fully backward integrated. So impact of this price movement here and there has not significantly come our P&L, and nor do we anticipate in the foreseeable future to come out. So we are in a very good position. Why? Because we are fully backward integrated. We control our own destiny, largely speaking.
Thank you. My next question is, what differentiates Symbiotec from larger Indian API manufacturers?
So I think the way I would like to put it that we are one of the few companies that is working at the intersection of sciences like organic chemistry, the biotechnology, and of course now we very recently we've introduced complex injectable pharmaceutical sciences in the company. Every second company in India could be a chemistry company, but when you talk about biotech fermentation, 1 out of 100 companies would have this expertise. And of course now we are all integrated, so we made our company as an integrated, genuinely speaking, right from farm to pharmacy, as we call it. So we start from soybean sterol, go to APIs, and now go to our formulation. So this big value chain that we have now captured is a big differentiator, right? And now we're using this scientific moat into some of those products, whether it is injectable or whether it is the so-called fermentation products and CDMO services for a much larger TAM. Please appreciate that steroid hormones, when I started back in mid-90s, maybe the addressable market could be $1 or a few billion, right? But now the market in which we operate or going to operate with the help of this injection and this large CDMO fermentation offerings that we do is multi-billions of dollars. So using the same scientific depth and moat, now we are moving from a few $billion to several $billion market opportunity. And this is what also differentiates and gives us an opportunity to create value for our shareholders in the foreseeable future.
Anilji, how difficult it is for US and Europe to create the facilities that you have established in MP, and what kind of higher margins or new opportunities you look forward to for your new business models?
So look, as I suggested a while ago that Symbiotec has invested, built and maintained a very high quality manufacturing platform from Indore, in and around Indore, and those facilities has been backed up by decades. I think the first FDA inspection, UGMP inspection was 2008, and now 18 years of relentless regulatory compliance. not just from one regulatory authority, but from across the globe. So we have proved that, not only we have a good manufacturing standard, but we have the highest. So, sometimes I presented to my global accounts that, why Symbiotec for you, whether it's steroid hormones or any other product offerings. Please appreciate that what we've been able to build is the Western regulatory standard using the Asian cost advantage. This hybrid model that we've created has allowed us to penetrate in these big innovation-led or big pharma companies. So that's our differentiation, that's our strength, and this is how we have built. Now, what was the next question? Sorry, with this, after this you say, the manufacturing facilities in MB, and yeah.
Opportunities for your new business for us.
Yeah, the new business model, of course, one is, as I said, injectment to the formulation. I would like to just focus on the formulation for a while. I just talked a while ago that there is a tool or a new science called synthetic biology, which is a cutting-edge tool which is going to allow this world to produce more fermentation-based product, whether it is food, agriculture, industrial products, or so-called pharmaceutical product. And this innovation definitely, I must say, is happening in the Western world, largely speaking, right? But the Western world is in no situation whatsoever to manufacture these large products comparatively versus its natural products, right? Back in their own backyard. They have no other choice but to look at the Indian advantage. And that's Indian advantage. We are at the forefront of it. We are in a position to acquire these opportunities. Why? Because one, we have the capability, two, we have the capacities in formulation. So this rare combination of capability and capacity is putting us into the forefront of this opportunity which is knocking at the doors of India, called biomanufacturing, bioeconomy.
I have 2-3 questions bunched up. One is, you commenced your CDMO operations sometime by 2025. What have your learnings been or lessons been from that initiative? And in connection to that, there has been a small, the revenues are quite small right now, but there's been a fall from FY25. What has been the reason for that from CDMO? Also, given that you are talking of opportunities of about multi-billions, right, in that space, how do you envisage the revenue mix from your forward integration in terms of CDMO?
Do you want to take this question?
So I just want to clarify on the CDMO. The revenues what we had got in the last couple of years is basically from a few contracts which are development contracts, and those are not the main source of revenue which we are looking at from the CDMO. Of course, we built 100K facility at which this is a large scale fermentation capacity, and we are looking at CMO opportunities from this scale, and these are multi-million dollars in terms of revenue opportunities. By the way, we have also signed a couple of contracts on the large scale fermentation opportunities, and starting next financial year, we will start seeing revenues getting generated consistently from these. Whatever we have got as revenue in the last couple of years, a few development activities, which was a small set of.
Also, your first part of the question, I just want to make it very clear that if you really filter these numbers and see through in a certain manner, then you would realize that our sales revenue has gone up consistently year on year. Also, gross margins in the last 3 to 4 years have also gone up consistently. Also, the EBITDA margins have gone up consistently. What has happened is a small aberration which has happened in 2025 of 2-3 points, 2-3% given the back, which I explained a while ago, that it is because there is certain pressure from our subsidies, those expenses which we are not able to account for and capitalize and amortize in respect to subsidy investment. It is coming in and hitting the steroid hormones-based API business. That has led to this, but it's an aberration. But if you keep this aberration aside, it's an outlier, and see our revenue growth, our gross margin growth, and EBITDA growth, it's been very consistent. And we'd like to continue this trajectory. And coming to this, your last part of the question, which you say, how are revenues? So of course, right now the major bucket is our base steroid API business, right? There are two major buckets in the coming years, next 2 to 3 years, which will fructify. Is from the injectable side, and we believe the fermentation side. Both these buckets or verticals are likely to be significant revenue earners in the coming next 3 to 5 years. So we will have 3 different engines that will be running or taking the value creation on the roads. Not only a pressure on the API vertical, but also now it will be shared by the fermentation vertical and also by the injectable vertical. So 3 major verticals would be what a consolidated picture would look like in the next 3 to 5 years. This is what we are expecting.
Is there a mention of the contracts that have been signed in this particular space in the RHP?
Yes.
Yeah.
And these are, just to put a small color to this, we are not a traditional revolving door CDMO opportunity, which is doing a simple development, offering our benchtop bandwidth to some of the innovation of pharma companies. Essentially, these CDMO opportunities that are coming our way are very significant, very long term. Why? Because some of the innovation products, which is, let's say, I told you, done in the Western world, when they are coming with their innovative products, they are seeking, of course, the long-term contracts with us, but we are making them do an investment in symbiotic facility because these are new products. So we are involving their skin in our game. That you should also be part because now they're investing millions of dollars in our facility. Besides our investment, they are bound to stay with us. So a couple of these large CDMO opportunities that we've signed are actually 10 years to take out their revenues. So it's not like someone is going to walk away after 3 months or 6 months or a year after utilizing our so-called bandwidth. They are a real long-term partner, legally binding about their revenue. So it's a very sticky business that we see, and then just the start. This is just the phase 1. As we see, as we prove our model, and there are so many other companies that we are currently in connection with, and they're looking for a capital efficient manufacturing base. And what better than our own central India, where there is so much of carbon source as sugar, so much of dextrose, combined with the capability and capacity of supply chain. This is making a very compelling case in favor of India, and especially central India, and especially symbiotic. So we remain absolutely excited about the symbiotic 2.0 outside this base business of steroid, which of course is also growing, but these 2 new growth engines will inject the new leaves of life. You will see next 3 to 5 years that how we are evolved into a multi-science disciplinary company in the next few years.
I will highlight one point to that, Energy. So all these contracts which we are having as our manufacturing partner in CDMO space, so most of those are coming from US and Europe, and all of these are highly patent protected products or process technologies, where our partners are relying upon us as Symbiotec having expertise in complex biotech manufacturing. They're relying upon us with their highly valuable intellectual property and patents, and hence they are coming to us for giving them a business continuity assurity, means supply chain assurity, that we can manufacture this for a long period of time, 10 years, 5 years. We have been doing this in FDA approved facilities already for 15 plus years as a company for our own internal purposes. And that reflects upon when we sign and speak with these customer partners, that how we can be very valuable to them, adding value to them, as well as reliability of understanding complex biotech manufacturing, as well as respecting their IP and patents. Because I think one question was on the cost efficiency and cost arbitrage as well. So India plays a very good role there versus US or Europe. If you were to set up a capacity there of same size, same infrastructure, it would take more time and a lot more money than where India is. This is just known to everyone that we have significant cost arbitrage for India. And in that particularly, when Symbiotec comes into play with complex manufacturing expertise over the last 2 decades and a very reliable name to protect their intellectual property as well as their business surety and supply surety, we are at the forefront to harness this bioeconomy and biomanufacturing opportunity from massive bio.
Tentatively put a number to how many contracts that you have signed.
So we've shared in the RHP, we've signed a couple of long-term take-or-pay contracts and a few term sheets as well, which we signed. So we have a lot of, between contracts and term sheet, there are multiple agreements.
So it's captured in RHP.
So what are the main entry barriers you are facing in the industry? Is there any issue, non-availability of technologies or material, something like that? In the slide you have mentioned there are so many high entry barriers. What are the main entry barriers you have?
So, for example, steroids and hormones are very important products, and especially hormones are controlled substances. So, to handle controlled substances is one thing. And these hormones products and steroid products are often maintained in a segregated facility. How many companies will have a segregated facility for hormones? How many companies could afford to have a controlled substance experience? And also, as I said, these are very niche molecules, and the contribution of this niche API molecules in the overall customer's pharmaceutical value chain is very insignificant. So someone coming and paying a price card is just not going to move the needle for our customers. So we have to play these entry barriers of regulatory compliances that we have. So all these things put together, of course, it deters Symbiotec from getting into this global accounts for many, many years. But once we are qualified with them, now it has become very sticky that no one else can run over this business so easily. So what was difficult for us to get into is also difficult for our competition to get into. So we believe that by virtue of these entry barriers, we have created a very recurring revenue model with a sticky customer base from a very compliance freak company called Symbiotec.
Suppose if you are extracting a particular steroid from soya bean, does it have any patent protection or?
No, so let me just tell you, I think steroid and hormones are a very old product range. I think our grandparents, I'm sure, would have consumed steroid and hormones as drugs. And I'm sure our grandchildren are also going to consume steroid and hormones. So they have a perpetual, unlike antibiotics, generation 1 comes and comes, generation 2, so they disappear. But steroid and hormones are a perpetual range of products. They've been in this world since 1950s and 60s, when America innovated from this Michigan facilities, and some of the European facilities also initiated. But the way these steroids are getting now changed in terms of manufacturing or their efficiencies and improvement. Earlier, this improvement was on account of chemistry, and now this improvement is on account of fermentation called biotechnology. So steroids will remain steroids; they won't change, neither past nor in future. But the way these are getting manufactured will continue to evolve, and we are at the cutting edge of this, or ahead of this curve when it comes to technology improvement. And that is why I say, for anyone to be a global force in any APIs or any drug category, you need to have the cutting edge technology by your side. And this is where we have relentlessly been playing this card for over 2 decades. And we continue to invest significant amount in technology. So technology is a big barrier, which we have mastered in the last 2.5 decades. So whatever you are coming as public investors coming in, becoming part of Symbiotec is not something that has happened in the last few years. It has happened in the last few decades. And that is what the big entry barrier is.
So what about the residue after extracting this steroid? Whether it is edible? See, for example, soybean or milk protein, and you extract the protein from it. It can be used again.
So actually, no, as you see, the soybean is a multifaceted crop. It gives protein, of course, it gives oil, of course, it gives lecithin, of course, and also in this there are something called tocopherol, which is vitamin E. So there are extraction processes within soybean at different stages. It's a very complex manufacturing. And we do not go and buy this soybean from farmers and kind of squeeze it. We buy from the large agro commodity companies like ADMs and Cargills, and now a few companies in India have started this phytosterol. So we go and acquire this phytosterol from this large agro-based companies who are multi-billion dollars companies. They go and actually separate out the protein part of it, the oil part of it, the tocopherol, which is the vitamin E part of it, and so-called fatty acids, and also these phytosterols, esterols. So again, and these specialist companies have the fractional manufacturing processes. They utilize it to the end. That's why they are very, very efficient companies out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the management is here. In the interest of time, I will like to invite Mahesh to make the closing remarks, but the management is here to take further questions if you wish.
Thank you. At the outset, on behalf of the DRM syndicate, let me thank Symbiotec and their stakeholders for giving us this opportunity to bring this unique story to the markets. As highlighted by the company, Symbiotec operates at the cusp of organic chemistry and biotech fermentation. It is at this intersection that Anil and his team of wizards create magic. And at some level, I hope you've understood that it is not just best in class, but it's actually a class apart. And on this story, on the IPO itself, let me just give you some details. This is a 1,757 crore issue size with around rupees 150 crore fresh issuance. On the dates itself, the anchor is on Friday, August 21st. The issue opens on Monday, which is August 24th, and issue closes on Thursday, which is August 27th. We solicit your support in taking this story to the investor universe, and we thank you for your time today. With that, let me invite all of you for lunch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.